The Channel Mom Show, celebrating you with Jenny Dean Schmidt.
Brought to you by Pediatric Dental Group of Colorado, creating positive and rewarding dental visits for kids of all ages since 1977.
Okay, welcome back to the Channel Mom Show, where we are celebrating you on Mile High Sports Radio, AM 1510, FM 93.7. I am your host, Jenny Dean Schmidt. Very happy to have a guest in studio with me today. And Chris, you can feel free to ask a question if you need any help with your money.
Yeah.
Okay, how are you doing with money these days, Mom? I mean, just about every mom I talk to talks about money flying out of their butt, basically. I mean, like, I can't keep a hold of it, and they've got too much debt, and they're spending too much. And speaking of spoiling their kids, they're spoiling their kids, and they can't stay on a budget, and they just want some help. Now, we've done a lot of shows on how to help them with their grocery spending and doing coupons and saving 30% at the grocery store and things like that. So that's one way. But I know that our guest has a lot more ways than that. So did you know that moms are actually the ones who do most of the spending? And in fact, they're responsible for 85% of household spending. That includes couches and all kinds of stuff like that. That's why advertisers are always seeking moms when they do an advertisement. Lots of moms would like to do their spending and saving in better ways, as I said, and that is why Dana Bath is here. Dana has seen it all. She has worked with professional athletes who hit it big, blew it all, and then needed Dana to clean it all up for them and hit their reset button on the financial life. By the way, after Dana graduated from college, she did join a financial planning firm. That's where she got her experience. She became partner there and worked there for 10 years. But then you set out, Dana, to help people on your own. That's why you have a heart for professional athletes, partly because they're kind of spoiled kids. They get all this money.
And they need a lot of direction.
Yep. Then they blow it all, and then they don't know what to do. She's also helped mothers hit their reset buttons when it comes to their household finances. So I knew when I asked Dana to be on the show that she could be a big help to you today. I hope you listen to her principles. I hope you have a question for her. You will call her. She now runs her own company called Avant Wealth Management. You used to be Laura's Financial, and now you're Avant Wealth Management. And so throughout the show, we're going to direct you to how you can find out more from Dana. And she just has fabulous advice. I use her advice as well. She just knows what she's talking about. So welcome to the Channel Mom Show, Dana.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's help some moms today.
Well, one of the things that I would kind of focus on right out of the gate is budgeting. Budgeting is a huge part of trying to figure out where you want to be and what you want to do. And then you also want to set some goals, because if you don't have goals, then you don't really know what to do with the money. Yeah. So from my perspective, I really think that one of the first steps in getting organized, and yes, cutting coupons and all of that's important, but if you have no idea how much you should be spending in a category, it would be really difficult to know what that coupon is actually going to do for you.
Right.
So I would first focus on that.
It's kind of the principle I heard somebody say once: if you don't tell your money where to go, it's going to go wherever.
Correct.
You need to sort of have a direction. Now, I want to say very briefly, because I know as a mom myself, budget meetings with your husband or by yourself if you're a single mom are daunting, and you will put them off till 2019 if you can. What is an incentive that you can offer them to say, hey, sit down and do this? Or maybe you can help them to sit down and do it.
Yeah, I think the best way to do some budget planning is actually to have somebody that is not in your family help you to figure that out. Yeah. And that's kind of where a person like myself comes into play.
Yeah.
You would have somebody come in, sit down and say, here, what are you spending? What are you doing? And then when you're doing it with somebody else, it doesn't feel nearly as daunting. And then that person will give you their objective opinion about maybe you're overspending in this area, maybe you're doing this. And then it doesn't turn into a husband-wife argument about, well, I'm not doing that or I'm doing this. So that's a big issue that I see with a lot of clients, is that they fuss at each other.
Sure, absolutely. And you have a heart for moms in particular. You have a calling. You feel like, hey, I really need to help moms get their house in order. So you have I know you charge very reasonable rates, and it's something they'd be surprised they can afford. What is your website, by the way?
Our website is www.avantgardewm.com, and that's AVANTGARDEWM.com. The thing that I was going to add to that, though, Jenny, is that when you're sitting there with your spouse, or when you're looking at your budget, or you're thinking about the things that you need to spend, the first thing you want to focus on is the must-haves. And what I consider the must-have is paying my mortgage, my utilities, things like that. And if you can focus on that, the rest of it really becomes the gravy, and it becomes a lot easier to determine what I really do have available to go out and buy that extra pair of earrings.
Okay. So, yeah. So the must-haves are mortgage, car payment, insurance.
Yeah, the things that you have to be able to have a house, have a home, have a roof over your head, provide for your children, that type of a thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then does that rein in some of the other things once you realize how much has to go just to necessities?
Yeah, and sadly enough, in our society, what I see is that we dine out way too much.
Absolutely.
And most people don't realize what that actually looks like until they sit down and run numbers on it, if you will. And so I think even in my own household, we find that we spend way too much money dining out. And that's one of those areas where, for me, being a professional and being busy and being a mom, you've got a lot of things going on. You're running kids here, you're running kids there, you're doing all sorts of things. And so it's the easier thing is to run through the drive-thru or, pick up something quickly. But if you can figure out how to focus on bringing more of the meal time inside the home, which also I think is valuable, sitting at the table, spending time with the family, you'll find that you actually have a huge surplus of money because you didn't even realize that you were spending as much as you were on dining out.
Absolutely. And we're not trying to make the gas stations or the restaurants mad here, but I find that every time we go by a gas station, my kids will say, I'm thirsty, I'm hungry. Can we just stop for a second? And 50% of the time I'm like, all right, and I do it. Yeah. By the way, they have proven that kids who sit down to mealtime with their family do better in school.
Yes.
There are all kinds of research principles there that show that kids who sit down to a family meal do better in life.
Yes, they do. And I would agree with that. I mean, there's time for talking, visiting. The whole deal is going on at that point when you're sitting at the table.
It's very important, and it's so easy to push that by the wayside, and it's undervalued. Is there a way you can tell a mom how to cut that out? Because I can just see the mom who's putting her hands to her head right now saying, there is no way when I'm running from baseball to football to whatever else that I have to, or dancing and talent shows and everything, that I have time to pack a lunch.
Yeah, well, it's just like, it's like anybody. It's planning and, financial planning. That's really what I do. And we're all guilty of not taking the time to figure out what the plan should be, whether it's your money or whether it's the meals or getting to the grocery store and all that. So, I think it just boils down to they really have to set a plan. And there's really simple, easy types of meals that you can do very quickly that, takes the thought process or takes all the work out of it.
Yeah, just grab a tortilla and spread a little cheese on it, and literally
much better and it's healthier, honestly.
Yeah. I if there's a mom listening that is thinking, I just can't do this, the lazy way, if it would help you to start this. Okay, I'm not asking you to make gourmet meals and put them in a picnic basket and throw it in the car every Saturday, but if you just start with getting granola bars and or Kind bars, or we one of our sponsors is Pop Chips. Just grab some things. They're just snack items, and the nutritionist would not say that it's super balanced, but at least it's not going out to eat and spending 3 times the money.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you realize that you have extra money that you can actually do something that's valuable, for your family, for savings, for retirement, for your future. Those are important things that, we aren't even talking about, but those are part of the things that really are a huge focus for me in the space of empowering women. Figure out how you can retire, figure out when you can be done, and enjoy life, because that's kind of the goal.
And let's talk about that. It can be fun to sit down and say, what do I want my life to look like? And you have the thing, like, sit down, spend half a day, get a nice cup of coffee, make it fun, make it a dream time. Yes. This is what we want to look like in 5 years. This is what we want to look like in 10 years. And you also want people to include retirement in that. So talk about how they can sit down and kind of have a dream session where they dream how they want to look financially, and they're responsible about it. And some people might say, well, you don't know where I'm at right now. We're unemployed or whatever it is. But how can they sit down and make a plan that gives them goals to work for?
You want to first start with, if you want to contact me, of course, I can certainly provide you with the list that gives you kind of the framework on what to start thinking about and what to look at. It's kind of like a questionnaire, and it starts to get your mind rolling in the direction of, here are the things that are important. But the thing that I think is really kind of the key here is don't put your head in the sand. People just decide, kind of your point with unemployment, I'm unemployed, I don't have this, I can't do that. Well, you don't really know until you kind of start really thinking about it and looking to see and making the assumption that I can't or I don't have the ability to do this or that. I think that more people would be surprised as to what they can do. I do retirement planning stuff for people, and more often than not, they're surprised that they're actually in better shape than they thought they were in. So I think the biggest thing is to don't put your head under the table or under the covers or or whatever.
Yeah.
seek some help if it's nothing more than a questionnaire that tells you some things to start thinking about.
And you can do that. Again, we're talking to Dana Bath. She's a financial planner, and she has a heart for helping moms. She also helps professional athletes manage their money as well. She is at www.avantgardewm for wealthmanagement.com. So feel free to contact her. And if you have a question today, feel free to call 303-297-1510 for Dana. I want to say to moms, I am a put my head in the sand person. That's why my husband's done the budget for the last 23 years, because I think, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it. But I'm actually a goal setter. I'm somebody who sets a goal and wants to achieve it. But for some reason, I'm more afraid to do that with money. I just want to encourage every mom out there today, maybe if you're unemployed now, sitting down to set some goals for yourself to plan is going to actually motivate you to get that job. I mean,
yes.
that will help, yeah?
Absolutely. I mean, the thing that I think happens when you start putting pen to paper is you start realizing that there are things on that list that are attainable, that you actually can accomplish. And so once you start focusing on some of the things that you can get to, it's amazing what you could do. It just, all of a sudden, you spiral into this fabulous energy of getting something accomplished. And I'm a list maker, and then I like to see as I get things checked off of my list. I love that. And it actually motivates. So you have a list, write it all down, see what it looks like. And to add to something you said, Jenny, about your husband being the one who does everything, that's also not a very good plan for us women. We really need to be involved. And I know oftentimes the husbands do most of it, but that's kind of one of the pieces to my space of wanting to empower women. Don't let the husband just do everything and don't know, because if something happens to your husband, what are you going to do and where are you going to be?
This happened to my grandma. She didn't know anything about what he was doing.
And that's a huge issue. And oftentimes your husband's worked with a financial planner, they've worked with an advisor, and you don't have a relationship with them. And that person's really not in your corner because the relationship was with the husband. Yeah. And for me, I'm saying to women, if you're more comfortable with a woman, then seek a woman. But either way, know the person, have a relationship, understand where things are, know where the money is, whatever it is, understand what that looks like.
And it's worth spending a little money sometimes on getting a financial advisor like yourself, because that's going to end up making you money in the end if you can sit down and make these plans.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you have a heart for retirement. I know that. What does a success story look like? I know you've sat down with professional athletes. We've got about a minute and a half left. You sat down with professional athletes. You've sat down with mothers. What does it look like when there's a successful end to that?
You mean in terms of being able to
you make
retire?
a plan, and have you watched them change their habits?
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things that I've helped people with is debt servicing. So, for example, somebody says, I've got all this debt and I can't get this done, and they're frustrated, and interest rates are killing them and stuff like that. And I've helped with finding the opportunity or the consolidation scenario to get them where they need to be. But the success story is, after a year's time, looking at where they are versus where they've been and seeing that, A, the debt's been reduced and they're actually starting to save. And, those types of things are what really go, wow, and I can feel good about where I'm at now. And then you just keep on that road. And monitoring it is a huge part of that process, having conversations on a regular basis with the person who is helping you financially. That once a year type of relationship, that really doesn't work. And I am a huge proponent of, call me, spend time with me as much as as much as you need. Yeah.
So if you want to take Dana up on her offer, it is Dana Bath at avantgardewm.com, and avant-garde is spelled with avant, A-V-A-N-T, and then garde, G-A-R-D-E, WM.com. So I hope you'll call Dana if you want, or you'll email her if you want some help there. Dana Bath, thank you so much for being with us today. We loved it.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we were blessed to have you.